Hey everyone, welcome to F9 Collective's Toggle. Today we're having our guest Ryan Summers for a chat on what's happening in the industry in 2025. And I think everybody knows how strange this year has been, and I think it's best that we have this conversation sooner, so that moving forward, and it's going to only get stranger, I feel. So moving forward, we can all adapt easily. So. Welcome aboard, Ryan. I'm happy to have you here. I feel like this is a long overdue one because I feel, yeah.
I appreciate it. I know. I'm pretty good friends with Kyle Hamrick, and he was telling me about it in the past, and I'm just excited. I love talking to people that are not from the same time zone or country or area, because I feel like, I don't know if you all feel this way, but I feel like motion design, one of the best parts of it is just the sense of community. And every year it just feels like it gets more and more. As it gets bigger by being more global, it feels like it also shrinks and gets tighter because we're all sharing what's going on. And I don't know if you all feel this, but there's never been a stranger 12 to 18 months in the industry. So hearing what is happening to everybody, what things are working, what things aren't working, what your fears are, like it, for me, I just feel just lucky to be talking to y'all because it's great to get your perspective.
And one quick note, most of the folks in F9 are freelancers. And so there is a lot of things hanging in them for them. I mean, things have shifted. And I feel like everybody is a bit on edge because of the mill closing down and MPC. And we actually had a few whole different situation happen here because a mill has mill and Technicolor has a branch here in Bangalore, and a lot of employees got let go without being paid. So everybody is on edge about what's happening in the industry. So I would love to get your...
I watched a long YouTube call specifically, I think, for the mill office in your area, specifically about just not getting paid. And it was I live in Milwaukee, which is about an hour and a half north of Chicago, but I'm from Chicago, and I know scores of people from Chicago. Again, in that sense that like the world is closer than you think it is. A lot of people in Mill Chicago were going through the same things that probably a lot of people were going in real time at the same time, where they woke up on Friday to an email saying you don't have a job and we don't know who's getting paid what or when. So that's a frustrating time, but at least maybe it brings a little bit of comfort to know that we are all going through it together, right? Like everyone in Chicago, people in LA, people in England, we're all trying to decipher what is going on and what is happening. But I think that's an important thing to talk about. We can, whatever you want to talk about, I have opinions and ideas about it, and things, but I think it's important whenever anything like that happens to not immediately doomsday and assume that that's part of the global problem and every studio is going through the same things. The mill itself is a very unique situation because they were part of Technicolor, right? And I can tell you, I talked to a lot of people that were there when Technicolor bought the mill, and there were a lot of business decisions that led to the point where they had to shut everything down, right? That have almost nothing to do with what anyone here as an individual freelancer or a small studio would be going through. The best way I can say it is that the loan that Technicolor had to take out to buy the mill was more than Technicolor was actually worth at the time. So they were already very heavily leveraged financially by just bringing on the mill. And then I can't remember if it was 14 or 17 years later, a whole series of decisions tidal waved or cascaded into the fact that they had to basically shut it down with no money left. So it's important to know that, but I also think like you have to safeguard yourself from thinking like, well, if the mill can't survive, what can I possibly do? Because it's just a very unique, very different situation. I still think there's lots of lessons for all of us to learn from that. But yeah, it's easy to see two or three things at once and then be like, oh my gosh, is the sky falling? I don't know if that's how anybody else felt, but I definitely felt that way on the Friday, and then Saturday and Sunday talking to people and research, and then getting on a podcast on Monday and talking it out with someone that was at the mill. I felt at least a little bit more comfortable of like, okay, this is what really happened. But yeah, it's scary. It's scary. I don't know if you guys feel this, but like I am both like equally terrified and excited. Like it's two things that are like on the equal sense of the spectrum. It's scary because like the world is like an uncertain place right now. Like every single day you wake up and it changes on a dime. And the economics, there's a lot of things that have happened in the last 2 years to us that have hurt us financially that had nothing to do with decisions we've made, right? Like the global economy, like tech companies, entertainment companies. There's a million things that affect us every day. So it's hard to be like, well, what can I do? How can I change things? At the same time, there's incredible opportunity, right? There's incredible opportunity in terms of tools, in terms of collaboration, in terms of new types of clients that need what we do in different ways. I always call the things canvases instead of screens, but there are so many new canvases that people need to fill up with the things we make. Part of it is just trying to figure out where those people are and how to get them to pay us. But that's something we can talk about too. That was my TED talk. But what questions do you guys have?
Yeah. So as I have mentioned earlier, a lot of people here are freelancers, and we do have a lot of studio owners as well. In fact, I just let one in. Raz is here as well. Raz, if you could just come on camera as well. I think he's one of the folks who has done internship in a lot of big studios like Gentleman Scholar and Buck, and I think so. From his perspective, I would love to get an idea from his perspective. Like Raz,
sorry, what were you guys talking about? I just joined.
Sorry. Ryan was asking like how is the industry right now for us here in India, and if we had any questions regarding what's happening in the overall global scale.
I think at least for us, I think it's pretty good because like Indian financial year is basically from March to March, like so I think I've noticed that whenever the new financial year starts, every companies have like budget to spend on marketing and motion design. So at least for like this initially this 4 or 5 months looking very good, but yeah, you guys also tell me how is it going.
I can tell you, I talk to a lot of studios, right? I do, and this is available to anybody, even on this call. I have open office hours that I've been doing for, I think, maybe the last 7 or 8 years. My lunch hour, I eat lunch at my computer, and I just talk to 4 or 5 different people every day. It's just like a free Calendly link. But a lot of times, surprisingly, in the last 6 months, that's been studio owners trying to ask, like, what's going on? Like, what's working? What's not? I can say that in the last month and a half, probably exactly what you're saying, like the end of last quarter, beginning of this quarter, there's been a sustained increase in inquiries and jobs that actually have been awarded. That is different from the kind of normal feast or famine we've seen over the last 2 years. There's if you look at I get access sometimes to like aggregated studio information from a couple places, and you can literally see at the beginning of every quarter it goes up and then it very quickly goes down, and then you hope it just by the end of the quarter levels off. This first 4 weeks of like this quarter, we've seen an actual increase that's been sustained increasing in terms of, like I said, inquiries and jobs that have been awarded. I don't know what that necessarily means, because the world still feels like every like I said, every day there could be a new tariff, or there could be a new global incident that like makes people kind of question it. The one thing I do try to like reinforce to people is like, even during recessions, companies still have to advertise. They just change their risk profile, like what they're willing to spend their money on, right? Like there's still competition to try to get people to buy things. So that means we have to change how we talk, I think, to potential clients or potential brands or potential companies. But yeah, it's kind of interesting to hear that you're seeing that too, because it feels like things are on an uptick. I get a little concerned, like thinking like everything's great, everything's solved, like, especially right now, because like you said, I'm sure you all woke up this morning and are like, what's going on now? But yeah, it definitely feels like people are spending money and they're trying to compete and they're trying to advertise and market, and we're there ready to help them.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, we right now, I think all of India is sort of in a very strange place, but I don't want to get into that right now. Now, on the topic of freelancing, I also wanted to bring forward the question, like I talked earlier. In 2016, when I mentioned things were a bit easier when I started out. But right now, I just half an hour before I actually had a conversation with another freelancer. He had just started out two years ago, and he hasn't been able to maintain that consistent set of clients. And even I've noticed that the people that I've worked with are the only consistent clients that I'm getting, but absolutely no new people have come forward and asked for, okay, we want to hire you. And I feel like there has been a change in mentality, I think, about hiring people. So is there some way where we can, gain a lot more attention, I think?
Yeah, I think I definitely have seen that. I think that clients, brands, everyone is retreating to safe decision making right now, or at least decisions that they can make where they can point to why they made a decision to hire someone. So sometimes it's data, like, oh, the last 3 jobs I've worked on this person, the work that they've made has shown a increment financially in whatever, if I'm doing a marketing or I'm doing a campaign, or if I'm doing an explainer video, more people have come in because of it. That's the kind of stuff that is awesome. I think Jen Van Horn's on it. She always talks on this call. She always talks about the power of referrals. I always feel like referrals are great if you can attach data to that. If anything, like my work was part of a campaign that did X. Because I really do think like every single dollar that's being spent by anyone you could potentially be working with is being examined and studied and taken a look at critically. So a lot of it is like just trying to put yourself in your potential clients or people that are hiring you, their perspective. But that's not something you can just flip the switch and start doing, right? Like you have to start doing that at the beginning of any time you work with a client. So even if you do have a client now, starting to have meaningful conversations about like, hey, did the thing I work on with you, did that work? Did that help you? Was there something that you noticed that we did this time versus a previous time that made it stand out? So you can start talking about that. Everybody knows like LinkedIn is I've assumed for you all, it's the same way. Like LinkedIn is kind of the battlefield. It's the arena we're all competing in for attention. I feel like the problem a lot of times, though, is that a lot of people are spending a lot of time posting content to LinkedIn that's for us, like for other artists to be like, hey, I made this really cool thing, or I made this dope animation, or look how beautiful this is. I don't think our potential clients see that. Like, I just think it becomes noise in their feed. So I don't think it means that you stop talking about those things because they are how you differentiate yourself. But I think part of what you start talking about and you start using for your own personal branding and positioning includes how you've actually helped your clients. I don't know if that makes sense or not, but just like talking a little bit about them a little bit more and about ourselves a little bit less, I think is something that can help. I don't know if that's the answer you're looking for, but I know for the studio I worked at and other studios, there's been a big shift in just how we talk about ourselves.
I agree. The whole that's something that has been of concern. Even like when we're having this conversation. Yeah. Please come forward.
You can finish your statement. Then I didn't mean to cut you.
Oh yeah, that's okay. So I agree. It's the shift that everybody is right now worried about because suddenly, like you said, we're just waking up to something new every day, and even with the whole AI happening, and I feel like definitely there's a huge divide. There's a lot of passionate responses to AI right now, but I've also seen artists embrace AI and actually use it in a way that it doesn't it doesn't affect or create a negative impression on their art. But yeah, I definitely agree with you on like the whole shift has been very concerned. So Vibha, please come forward. So just a quick intro. Vibha is she was the creative director of Post Office Studios. Post Office Studios is one of the biggest motion design and animation studios in India. She recently went freelance, and yeah, please come forward, Vibha.
Thanks for that introduction, Vishal. Hi, Ryan. It's really nice to have you.
Hello. Congratulations going freelance, by the way. It's a big step.
Thank you. It indeed is. It's been quite challenging for me because coming from a full-time space to a freelance, there's a lot of things that I've learned recently and I'm still learning. So with regards to like the, how to get new clients and stuff, for me, like I too tried the traditional way of doing an outreach, reaching out and trying to make a connection and stuff. But obviously it's not working these days. So what I'm trying, like I've been focusing a lot on making connections on LinkedIn, like the way you mentioned, like being more about them and like being more interested in what they need instead of just trying to pitch what we like. Instead of me telling them that I'm doing this, I tell them like, you tell me about something that you need, like is this something that will work for you? So that perspective change, I think, is really important. And I feel like what is like, I don't know if it's really working, not working, but something that makes me feel like I'm making some progress somewhere is when I'm actually making new connections, like globally also, like I'm just making new friends. I don't know if it's going to like, eventually turn into a sale, but like I feel like there is some sense of belonging that comes when you're making new friends, and like through connections, I think it just like happens. And maybe a lead could come from anywhere, like very unnaturally. Like very recently I got a new client. Like somebody just randomly reached out to me because I had commented on somebody's post, and they saw that post and they went through the comments and they saw my comment, and that's how they reached out to me. So I think just being more alive and more active on LinkedIn is what is helping you get noticed.
I couldn't agree more. I think this is a hard thing because everybody always wants the magic bullet, like what's the 3 things I could do that tomorrow somebody will show up. And I don't think that I have that answer. Maybe someone else knows it, or there's a tactic I haven't seen. But I think it's a lot like gardening, right? Like you're tending the soil, you're laying down seeds, and you have an idea of when something might show up. Like, oh, this is going to bloom every 3 months, or this is something that's going to show up once a year. But you don't, there's some variability in that, but you're not trying to rush it, right? But you're always present, right? You wake up every morning and you're tending to the garden, and you're keeping track of it the same way you keep track of a job, right? Like you have a spreadsheet that says these are the 20 people I'm aiming for and I'm targeting them. But I think that idea of just being present for other people is very, very important. I ask people this all the time. And are you excited about being in a service industry? And it's a great indicator of if someone's frustrated or not in the field, because there will be people who are like, I'm not in the service industry, I'm an artist. And I was like, well, that might be your problem, right? And it's just if we're working for marketing and advertising clients or people who have brands, we are there to help service them, right? They have a problem and we're there to try to help be a solution. That's the number one goal. I mean, I would love to also be in a world where we make our own art and people come to us for our art. I think that's a good pocket conversation to also have. But just really understanding, like, we're in service to people, and the only way people are going to hire you is if you can demonstrate how you would be of service to them. Part of it is our work, right? Part of it's your demo reel, like, oh, I need this and you do it, great. Part of it is I have a problem, I don't know how to solve it. I don't know if animation will solve it. I don't know if motion, maybe you actually just have a great idea that once you start talking to them, it isn't solved with animation, but they see, oh my God, you came up with that idea I would never have thought of, because you have a unique perspective. And I think you've demonstrated that, right? Just by commenting and saying something. I tell people all the time, like, I don't think cold emails work. I think you can include it as part of your campaign to get people to know about you. I really think like a lot of the answers lie in those little moments, those little, like, not just like putting thumbs up on LinkedIn, but like giving someone a comment, which really shows that you're present and you're here to serve them. I actually literally, like, the last 3 months that I've been working at the studio, have been doing almost exclusively business development and not creative directing, because we're in the same boat as all of you, right? We're all trying to grow our relationships and get more work. And I have had so much more success when I see someone that I have a list of targets. Like, I have a list of 100 people I'm trying to get to know me. And I will literally, like, oh my gosh, they just said they're looking for a graphic designer. I will literally put responses to, like, oh, you're looking for a graphic designer? Here's 6 people, and I will include their like @ name so that they also see it. But then I will also reshare it saying, hey, does anybody else know someone that'd be great for this Gatorade graphic design position in Chicago? And I will say that person's name, like Leon at Pepsi. I will include it there so he sees in multiple ways, multiple touches, that I'm not asking for the job. I don't want to be a graphic designer for Gatorade, but I'm noticing you, I hear you, I see you, and I'm a fan of you. And that's how I think you get people to become fans or devotees of you. Be like, oh, Vishal said, has hit me up 5 times and never asked for anything. You stay top of mind. It's weird because it has nothing to do with your animation skills or your design skills or what software you know, but I think you're on the right track. It's just hard to tell you, like, when it's going to pay off. And I think that can be very frustrating for people, which is why I treat it like it's a project. I literally, like I said, like, I put it into a spreadsheet and I track every touch point. Did they respond? Did they not? And like, what's my plan? Even for I have a top 10 of people I'm targeting. I literally, if anybody's ever used Nuke, I actually, I don't know if I can share screens here or not, but I actually create Nuke script. It looks like a Nuke script, like I saw this and I'm going to do these two things. And I wait to see a response. And if they have a response, I literally screen capture it and put it like, okay, that happened. That means I can now ask them this. And I track it down to the day, down to the moment, like, and I'm just waiting to see if they respond. Where it gets, that at least makes you feel like every day when you wake up, you've moved the ball forward. That was a lot of talking. I think you're doing the right thing. I think you have to be patient. And then I think you just, once you find something that works, then try it with 5 new people and keep track of it so you know that you're making progress. Does that answer it at all or help with it?
Yeah, I think that was quite insightful.
Okay, cool. Great.
Yeah. Thank you.
You're welcome.
I had a question. So Ryan, what you mentioned has worked for me as well in the past, but is it something that you do like on an everyday basis or like only when you are looking for like new clients, like 5 days in a month or something like that?
Every day, every single day, all the time. And it's literally like something I have one of these little they just changed the name of the company. Now it's called Early, but it used to be called Timular. It's actually a time tracking like app, but I and every time you turn this, it shows like, oh, I'm doing biz dev time tracking, or I'm doing animation time tracking. I literally have a time tracker that shows like, oh, I spent 45 minutes and I meant to do an hour and a half today, so I might stay up a little late, like after my family's to bed, and like got to do some biz dev. But can I, Michelle, can I share screens here? Is that possible?
Yeah, definitely. Please come forward.
I'll show you this. Let's see, entire screen, and you all let me know if this is actually showing up. Can you all see this?
Yeah.
Okay, so this is what I mean. Like I'm literally, this is somebody who I just finally got connected with. That 3 months ago when I found out I was doing biz dev, I needed to do that. I started, and this was the very first person that I was like, if I can find a way for this person to see me, connect to me on LinkedIn, and then like start a conversation, I know I can talk about this. And I basically started 3 months ago, and I, like I said, it's a nuke script. I basically saw an article that this person who is, now they're the executive creative director, but back when I started, they're the creative director. And I literally found an article, I liked and commented it, and I literally screen capture this so I can see, right? And then he was the first person that reacted to it. So I'm like, oh, he saw me. He may not remember my name, but he knows I said something to him. And then I actually replied to his YouTube comment as well so he could see. And then along the way, this is where I was saying like, oh, this person, he's looking for a card production designer. I then told him, oh, cool. Hey, anybody have an opportunity for a strong designer? And then, you know, I replied to the comments, I shared some people, so he saw me again. Then I noticed like a few weeks later, oh, he just got the ECD title. And that might be too small for you all to see, but he got the ECD title. So I followed up. I said, oh man, congrats. And he actually replied. And I was like, okay, cool. He's seen me helping him. He's seen me liking him. He's seen me sharing. And now we replied. I did a connection request. When I did the connection request, I didn't hear anything, so I was a little bummed. But then he posted to talk about AI. I will not post an AI generated image. And it gave, this is like the first day, I had like 20,000 impressions for me saying like, hey, I'm sharing it, but I'm also including his name. I'm giving him the shine. And then he reacted to it. And then 2 minutes after he reacted to this, he saw that I connected to him. And now we're connected. We're talking. I'm having him on a podcast. You know, like, so I'm doing that every single day across like 10 to 20 people every week. And I have those targets. And then I won't bore you with it, but I have a spreadsheet that literally has the 600 people that in the last 3 months I've gotten connected to and who I'm talking to and what my plans are to try to like build relationships with them. So that's what I mean. Like the same way you would take your job, right? Like like an asset you have to actually like design and animate and deliver. You take all of that detail, you track all that in your day-to-day job, make the business development. I don't even like calling it business development. I just call it relationship building. And I like what you said actually, but I think like I'm trying to become friends with as many people that could possibly hire me. And that's part of being a friend, right? You're not just talking about yourself. Best way to become a friend is to become a great listener, right? And be an actual like resource. So I think, I can't remember who asked that. I think it was Geet. I take it very seriously and I do it every day. And sometimes when I go to bed, I'm like, oh man, I have to turn my brain off because like, I saw that thing on LinkedIn. I should share that with this other person. And then it becomes, I almost should have it. I have a lot of whiteboards in my office, but I almost should have one of those like pincushion boards with like red string, in a murder mystery movie where you're like trying to find the killer, but just in reverse. Like all these things are trying to get. I should almost have that. If I had a bigger room, I probably would do that. And it can become a little obsessive because then what ends up happening is people talk about work-life balance a lot. I'm not the best example because I don't have the best work-life balance. But like anything I see becomes a tool, like or at least something to share, right? Like if you follow me on Twitter, like I do that all the time anyway for artists. I find something cool and I share it. But now I've just changed my brain just a little bit about like, okay, well, what about clients? What would they find interesting? So now I'm saving more things that might be of interest to them. Like this competitor did this great thing. Maybe they don't know about it. Maybe I could share that with them. So yeah, I'm not to say that you need to become all-consuming marketing biz dev, but it becomes part of your practice.
Yeah, I think I agree with that, and I think everybody who ran freelance just threw their work-life balance out the window when they decided that.
I mean, I did a talk at a film festival here last week in my town, and someone brought that up to the people on the panel. There were 5 of us. They're like, "So how do you find work-life balance as like a filmmaker or an animator?" And I was like, you know what? Does anybody ever ask an athlete what their work-life balance is like? I don't think so. I think people want them to win. I think people want them to go as hard and as fast as they can within reason. That means you eat healthy, you get your sleep, you have your time with your family, right? Like you don't just, an athlete can't be single-minded. They have to rest, right? Their muscles have to recuperate. That's part of the process. But I've never heard anybody ask an Olympic hopeful, be like, so how do you balance your life with your work? It's like they're kind of very interrelated, right? But for some reason, everybody expects us to be like, you only work 6.5 hours a day, you take your hour-long lunch, and then you don't work. And I'm like, that's great if that's what you want, but I also don't think it should be frowned upon if you want to like, you know, accelerate your career or push further as well. Like there's no shame in either way. Be careful, manage your time, right? Like make sure you're not, you know, burning yourself out. But I think there's some people that once they find this thing and it becomes a flywheel and they get excited, that's how they can combat burnout. Is like, oh, I'm creatively fulfilled and it's adding to my business. You know, that's also a perspective that I think has value.
Mm-hmm. That was very insightful. I personally, I use a Notion board to, you know, keep track of everything, but I only come back to it like once or twice a month just to keep check. But every day is something that I don't think I'll be able to. I mean, I have to try. I mean, you know.
Yeah. What I need to do is I need to convert this into Notion because my team is very visual and we've been using, this was Milanote, which is kind of like Miro and a bunch of other stuff. That works for my team, you know, doing stuff in Milanote. But I think the way my brain works, the more I see, I may have to ask you later, like give me some tips on Notion because I think that's how my brain would see it better or be able to kind of parse it. But yeah, it's that's another thing. It's just trying out a lot of different workflow and productivity tools to figure out like what speaks to you and not just using the one thing everybody tells you have to use. It's good practice.
Yep. Rishabh, please come forward.
Thank you, Vishal. Hi, everyone. First of all, really happy to see you here. And thank you for taking out the time with all of us. Right.
Oh, yeah.
So my question is like based on the thing that we are discussing right now. And I love the board that you made for building the relation with a new person. Right. Like I haven't really done it before. Though I saw similar structures when I was doing my BTech in engineering. We used to have the codes pipeline and stuff. So I would just have one question on top of it. How do you maintain your work plus activity of making new relation with the people on the constant basis? Like you said, every day. So isn't it get tough when you're working on a project that you have to complete the task, submit a section out of it, take feedbacks from client? And let's say situation when you're working with 2 or 3 projects all together, right? So now you have more people to cater, more people to like take feedbacks and stuff. So how do you maintain that plus reaching out to more people? And because reaching out takes more energy, right? It's not something that you just do it for the sake of doing it, but when you're actually interested to make more relation with the people. So how do you maintain that energy level across the boards?
I mean, I think that's a really good question because I think I've talked to lots of studios and I think their most fearful time, their most stressful time is when they're actually at the peak of what they feel like is success. They're used to doing 1 or 2 jobs at a time and all of a sudden they have 4. The amount of stress, you'd think that's the goal. The goal is to have as much work as possible. But then there's a high level of stress because you're like, well, I need to have enough money. I need to go and get more work to have enough money to pay the other people for the people that are working right now. So you're trying to pay today with the future while you're still trying to get today done. And then there's just the organizational management. I think that there's a point in time where you have to decide if you need to bring in a partner, right? And you need to figure out like, do I need an additional partner, even if it's fractional or freelance or part-time, to be able to cut that stuff apart? I think we all feel like we can do everything. And I think like When you're a solo freelancer fronting as a studio, there's a level that you can do that. But there is a time where you have to start saying like, okay, I'm actually getting worse at everything because I cannot focus on anything. And I'm actually becoming, again, being in service. I'm no longer in service of my clients because I'm taking on too much. And then it's amazing how much bringing on one person as a partner half time, if it's set up correctly, can actually allow you to do 200% more, right? Just by saying like, you know what, I don't know what it is that I'm the best doing. Am I the best at going out and getting more work? Am I the best at setting up the work so it's being done effectively and efficiently? Am I the best at just finishing a job and just getting it done and doing that last 10% that makes them love it? You have to, I have this theory that whatever you want to call it, studio, collective, there's 4 personality types that you have to be successful. There's the founder, like the person who has the creative vision. There's the finder, the person that either finds the artists or the producers or goes and finds the clients. There's the fixer. There's the person, anytime there's a problem, they're the person who can solve it. Oh, the client has a problem. They decide they want to change something that's going to affect the calendar. The fixer does that. And then there's the finisher, who's just the person's like, give me the weekend, I'll get it done. The problem is, I bet everybody nodding their head is like, I'm all those. And I would say, like, if you are all 4 of those, that is the time immediately to be like, I need another person to take some of those things. Because no matter what, you can't be the best at all 4 of those personalities or roles. And I think if you're nodding your head, it's like, yeah, that's where you either have to try to have less work that you can make more money on. So then you do have to start saying like, oh, are there clients that I have to fire to make room for the right client that is coming in that can pay me more and isn't? I just had a job like this. The last 3 weeks, I was working 8-hour weeks because we took on a job that was not that much money, but had, I'm sure you've all dealt with this, the potential for lots more work if we get this first one done right? I bet everybody's nodding their heads. But what ends up happening is those clients, the clients who have the least amount of money, almost always end up being the clients with the most amount of requests, the most amount of problems, the most amount of questions. And at some point, if you are that busy that you have to be like, oh, I'm too busy, what do I do? One lever you can pull is maybe I need to have one less of those kinds of clients. And you will amaze yourself where you're like, oh, I just turned down X amount of money. What do I do? Almost inevitably, because you have more space to go looking for more clients or servicing the clients you do have right now better, an opportunity shows up. And I know that it's very counterintuitive to say, oh, to get more of the work I want, I have to get rid of paying work right now or not continue an engagement, to the next one. But invariably, the studios that I've seen that are the healthiest are the ones that have a general practice of letting go of some of the clients that they've grown out of, I guess maybe is the best way to say it. The other big thing is like, a time boxing, right? Like just being like, nope, every day I need to spend we know we have to sleep 8 hours. We know we need to eat 3 square meals, right? We try to keep that as gospel. I would say as your business, there's certain things your business has to do. And it's very frustrating, but I would say, and I think someone else mentioned this, the time you have to start doing business development or sales or relationship building is invariably when you have the most amount of work in. Every time our studio ever gets busy and all of our artists, we have 6 staff artists, they're all working. That's immediately when I go to the owner, I'm like, now we have to double down on doing more business development. We need to do more outreach, more networking, more capabilities, presentations, because what'll happen is we just get so excited about the work, we forget to do that part. And then what happens 2 months later? Everybody's down and you're like, cool, what am I working on? And no one's working on anything and then you scramble. And then what ends up happening? You take one of those loud clients with no money that just become a drain, right? I think this works on all scales, right? I think if you're a solo freelancer, these are things to think about. I think if you're a 200-person buck-sized studio, it's even, more important that you have those things going on. But that's the way I try to address it. It never goes perfect. But it's like, you got to be mindful of it. It's so easy to just be like, I just get to animate all day. It's like, that's the moment you're probably like, I need to spend some more time on LinkedIn. I need to do some more calls. Does that help?
Yeah, that really explains a lot of things on a lot of levels. Because that's very true that the moment, like, I also had one of the month when I was having like a good amount of work, like booked up by every week by week and stuff. And I forgot to like take up that relationship or maybe like the network building thing, right? And then I hit a 1 or like a 2 week thing in which I had very less work, right? Yeah. So it's like I have the booking for the another upcoming 2 weeks, but not for that specific 2 week on the, like, let's say specifically for the April part, right? Mm-hmm. Initial 2 weeks I had like less work comparatively, but my second half of the April went good. right? Comparatively, not on the number wise, but good enough.
Yeah.
So that's when I understood, okay, no, the things has to go parallelly, but the energy that's required to maintain both of the things side by side is like sometimes it's too much to handle for like
Yeah.
again the one person.
Well, I mean, I keep on using this metaphor all the time. That's where I really do try to stress to people, even if you're not into sports, do try to think of yourself as an athlete, right? Like every athlete always goes to the gym, right? It's just part of the maintenance level of staying, able to compete. I look at biz dev or sales or relationship building like going to the gym. Sometimes if you're very busy and you have 3 games in a row in 3 days, you might only be able to do half an hour at the gym. You might even have to skip 1 day, but then you make sure it's imperative you go back, right? And then, I always just think of that way, like your animation and your making and your designing and your rendering, that's being on the field. But there's so much work that goes on before you ever get on the field. And right when you're done, there's a lot of maintenance you have to do. There's a lot of things you have to do when you finish the game, right? Like you have to come down, you have to look at the tape, you have to examine what you did, you study it, and you make your adjustments for the next time you go on the field. But you're still going to be working out, right? You're still going to be doing biz dev. You're still going to be doing outreach. You're still going to be trying to network in where and when you can. So I know this analogy falls apart if you're not into sports, but I think just like the idea of being an athlete, like I think you can kind of get the metaphor. Most people can understand that.
And that makes sense. Like that makes a lot of sense. But thank you so much for answering the question.
Yeah, no worries.
Awesome.
This is a great question.
Thank you very much, Rishabh. So I just wanted to put forward what Ankit just put in the chat. When fishermen cannot go to the sea, they repair the nets. And I feel like that is
that's so great. I love that.
So
who said that? Who said that? I want to like that's that I'm going to steal that because I think that's something everybody can understand. That's awesome.
Hi Ryan. Actually, I have not said that. I think Steve Jobs said that, or it's been attributed to Steve Jobs a lot. But yeah, and really great insights so far. Thank you for joining us here.
Awesome. Atharv, I think you had your hands up, so you can come forward.
Yeah. Hey Ryan, this is Atharva here. Thanks for being over here. I had a question. Okay, so I used to do freelancing before, but I've gone full time now. However, even with a full time job, I'm trying to make connections with a lot of people. Whilst doing so on LinkedIn, what a general trend that I'm finding is a lot of freelancers are going full time now. Like I've been seeing, I mean, it's not just in India, but it's across the world that a lot of senior folks and even guys who just started are looking for full time gigs. And just because how the economy is and the way how jobs and even gigs have dried up. So what do you like why do you think this is happening? Like, because 2023 was sort of worse than what it is now. But even at that time, people were still sort of going strong. But what happened now in this year that, we're seeing something like this?
That's a great question. I see it over here as well. I think I actually call motion design a field rather than an industry because I kind of think motion design is so wide. It's almost like no one calls science the science industry. It's like the field of science because we have a shared kind of like base level of fundamentals, but your day-to-day could be you could be a motion designer, you could be a motion designer, and our lives are totally different. We all use design animation, but I think in the field of motion design, there's always going to be a push and pull, almost like tides, where I think like as the economy booms, lots of people go freelance because they're like, why would I give this $200,000 job? Why would I work on that with a company where I just get paid salary when I could do it myself with 2 friends? And then I think as soon as like the world starts to get a little bit more constricted and money is not flowing as freely, everybody almost retreats to safe harbors because they're like, well, at least Meta is finding work and can pay me, or at least Apple is finding, or wherever it may be, right? I personally think that this is a like canon event or a fulcrum point in the industry or the field where I think that tidal pattern back and forth may start to shift where there's an opportunity for people to build on their own land, I think, and not just be either a freelancer that's a gun for hire, randomly getting booked, or working for a studio just working on whatever that company works on. But I think that's why that's happening now, is I think you're seeing money is not moving as freely as it was before. 2 years ago, that started, right? Like there's this whole thing about zero interest globally that kind of just stopped. So money was not free, if that makes any sense. It cost money to get money. Interest rates everywhere skyrocketed. online, like in the technical world, like in the tech world and the VC funding world, tech companies, which used to only be gauged by growth, like how many subscribers and how, now they actually have to prove that they need to be profitable. That happened in like the last 12 to 18 months, where you're seeing every tech company every 2 quarters lay off 10,000 people. The thing you don't hear is that they're also hiring 3,000 people, right? So it's not like no one talks about that globally. But they're doing that because they have to prove profitability, right? Like that's what they're being judged on global stock markets. So what they end up doing is they cut out a lot of middle management, cut up the highest, most expensive rank of people, try to see what they can get away with. And then a month or two later, like, you know what, actually we need 3,000 of those 10,000 positions refilled, but hopefully in their minds, younger, cheaper, less experienced people. So we're kind of going through like a global reset in that sense. We actually kind of we were very lucky. We dodged a global banking crisis about a year ago. So I think there's still a lot of fear in that world about loans and getting money out to people. So I think when all that stuff happens, people look to companies that have lots of money and they're like, could you pay me to do what I do so I don't have to go and find it? Because it's, you know, it's kind of scary, and it's kind of, I wouldn't say that, I mean, it is harder to find work right now if you're a freelancer, but I think it's not so much that it's harder. I think it's that those clients have changed what they need, and they've changed what they find valuable. And that doesn't mean that animation and design and motion isn't valuable. It needs to be talked about and positioned in a different way. Does that answer what you're looking for?
Yeah, I mean, that makes a lot of sense. So do you think like we'll be able to come out of this? Like, I mean, because like we're at a point wherein, you know, there's stuff like AI, generative AI that's coming in. Okay. You know, this is like sort of an anomaly that we've not seen it before any time. And it's potentially going to, sorry, I mean, I was like, it's potentially going to replace a lot of the low level gigs. And sometimes, you know, when you don't have those high paying gigs, you got to take, you know, have some sort of income stream that is there, and you know these kind of help. So now even with these gone, like how are we like supposed to, you know, make sure
it's a serious
out there?
It's a serious question. So I mean, Vishal, is it okay if we just start talking about AI, because I feel like it's been bubbling up for a while now. Now's the time to have the conversation.
I was about to put forward that.
So
sorry.
I will couch all of this that I think every one of us as an artist, like a capital A artist, has to have a ethical conversation with themselves about how they feel about AI, right? Like there's no question that all the AI tools have been built on borrowed, if not stolen material that probably includes all of our own work. You have to make the decision on what you feel about that. I can't tell you that. I vacillate back and forth on how I feel about it. I do think there will be a day where the tools will be mature enough that you can use a tool that is verified and guaranteed to have been trained on, you know, materials that have been paid for and people have been compensated, and it's clean or safe, whatever word you want to use for it. I also, because I think the clients will demand it. I have clients right now, broadcast networks in the United States, certain tech companies, that you have to sign a waiver saying you will not use any generative AI tools, because they're afraid they'll get sued for it. And it'll be a ticking time bomb in their assets that if it gets found out, that they'll get sued, and then we will have to kind of like bear that burden. There are other companies that are like specifically asking us, we will only hire you if you tell us you can use Gen AI tools and show us how you used it. I think those like safe, clean tools will come out. I think just like if you watch like what Adobe's doing with Firefly, it feels like it's 3 years behind everything, or 3 generations behind in terms of quality. Like if you look at what like Kling AI can do versus like a Firefly video, it's almost a joke. Like it's like, how are you so far? That's what they're trying to do to be safe. And I think you'll always have people who will be out on the bleeding edge of AI tools doing stuff that's questionable. You have to make that decision. Me personally, I think it's really important to be aware of what is possible and to maybe even experiment with it on your own time or on your own personal projects, so that when a client asks, you're 2 steps ahead of them. It's very important to, I don't know if you have all felt this, but in the last 2 years, every client I talk to is scared and they are looking for confidence. And I think that is what they are buying when they hire us a lot of times. They don't know what to do. They don't know how to follow all these trends. They don't know how to follow the technology. And they come to us and they're like, what do you know about that stuff? Should I be worried? And if we can speak with confidence and if we can speak with curiosity, you automatically have like a friendship level kind of relationship that's starting to build. I'm not saying you have to rush and use all this stuff right now. I will tell you, we've had 3 projects in the last 6 months. They've been told to try to use certain AI tools. We've told them we don't think it will work. We've told them that you cannot art direct it the way you're used to. They still say to do it. We spend half the budget on it. And then they find out that it can't get what it's been promised. And then we have to scramble to go and make something that fits with the amount of budget they have left. We've actually had 2 clients who have said, you know what, we'll just do it ourselves. We know how to use Midjourney. And then they use half the budget. And then a month later, they come back and they're like, this is all we could get. Can you guys make something for us with the money we have left? So in some ways, I hear what you're saying, and I'm very concerned about it. And I'm actually intrigued by some of the possibilities with it. You know, like I love the idea of AI being able to do all my roto. I wish there was an in-betweening tool. I wish there was a tool that would unwrap UVs for me. I don't understand why there's not an AI tool that does that. I never want to have to do that again. So anything that supports an artist that is still has an ethical level to it, that it's not stolen, I'm in favor of. If it supplants an artist, I'm immediately suspicious of it. And then we all have our own line to kind of like cross. I will say this, I think like a lot of those like bottom level jobs, you weren't really flexing your design and animation skills all that much. You were just recreating something that was already made. If you can get past the ethics of it, AI tools are just going to let you do that faster and make more of it. And that is a need. I don't know if that's the world I want to be in, but there's some people who are just like, if I can make stuff fast and make money doing it, they're happy with it. So I'm not, I have friends who pass judgment on anybody who even says the word AI. I'm not at that level. Like I'm definitely suspicious of it and like very considered. I think it's a personal decision right now. I think there's a world, I don't think it's ever going to go away is what I'll say. I don't think there's ever going to be a time where someone is going to be able to globally create some kind of law that says it's not allowed. There's too much money and there's too much potential and hype around it. But I don't think that means we also have to be just told exactly what we have to do. Like all the people online who are like, all right, animators, never animate again. You better learn AI. I don't believe in that. I've just like, I've tried to make it do the stuff that they say it can do. And like, not everybody needs like slow motion actors slowly looking over as a camera pushes on them, right? Like that's what like 90% of the AI that looks good right now can do. So that was again, that's a little bit of a rant, a little bit of an opinion.
Thank you so much.
I get the fear. Yeah, no worries. I get the fear. I totally get the fear.
I have to agree with you on the AI taking up the bottom level work, because I remember in the early days there was a cafe back home in Kochi. So I'm from Kochi. I'm currently in Bangalore, and there was a cafe back home in Kochi that used AI to make posters that they're going to share it on Insta. They probably will not be able to hire a freelance illustrator to do it, but they used AI, and it was a very small mom and pop shop that didn't have the funds for an illustrator. So I feel like those kind of jobs, it's okay as long as the ethical issues of AI are sorted out. Please come forward.
I actually saw like a very big billboard and the illustrations were all Ghibli style, and I was so disgusted. I was like, oh my god, people are just using it like without giving it a thought, and it was like really disappointing, but that is what it is. Like it was in a big city, very not very happy to see that, but what do you do now?
I mean, here I have so much to say. I'm so glad you brought that up, because I think a couple opinions on that. I, as an animator, have gone through at least 2 generations of people telling me motion capture will destroy animation and stop learning how to animate and stop doing it. And then the moment it ever gets in front of any audience, it hits that uncanny valley, like just like an almost animal instinct level of aversion when humans see it. You know, when you're like, I'm going to do a cartoon, a Pixar cartoon, and do it for $10 million instead of 120 because I use motion. And the moment you see Beowulf or Polar Express, like people at the highest level of the skill with the best technology, people immediately have just a visceral human reaction of like, no. And I think what you are saying is true for a lot of the AI stuff, at least right now that's coming out. People can't say what it is, but they like, look at the Coca-Cola commercial that came out. Regular everyday people that don't do this, they looked at it and they're like, what's wrong with that? There's something wrong. And it's not the fingers. It's just like, I think because we are visual people from the moment we're born, we have an inherent like level of believability or stylization that we accept as like something that's beautiful or something that's aesthetically pleasing. I don't begrudge companies that do that, because there's some companies like they don't have any money to spend, so that's what they do. And the companies who do have the money to spend that do it, then they can pay the price for it. Because I really do think just like when somebody hires like an influencer and you find out that they're a jerk or they're a liar, and then the company has to disavow themselves from that person as like their sponsor. I think AI is going to be the same thing. I think people are like, you did what with what? Oh, that's why it looks so weird. Like, and then like when everybody has access to the same level of tools for $19 a month, the people who actually, this is why I always say this, and this is my plea to you all, is like at the end of the day, you didn't get in this to just make a lot of content to make an easy life, right? You took the hard choice to be an artist. Even if you love tools and technology, you still are a capital A artist. Whatever it is that's inside of you that you've spent your whole life kind of like being obsessed with or interested or putting weird things together, that is going to be the moat that defends you from AI at some point, as long as you build your positioning and your service based around those things, right? So I don't know. I have a lot of big feelings about it that it's hard to express, but I definitely am aware. I definitely understand the fear, but I'm like, then double down on what makes you unique. Double down on because AI can only reprocess what's been before. Mm-hmm. But if you're constantly trying to make something new or something that is your new look on old things, it can't copy that until you've actually done it. And by the time somebody does that, you're going to be on to the next thing. You have to embrace that life of being like a capital A artist. Mm-hmm. And I think that's the security net for it.
It's interesting that Beowulf and Polar Express always pops up when the whole Uncanny Valley.
I feel so bad always because those people did a great job with what they had, right? Like they did the best they could. But I just think at the source of it, like people love seeing either real people doing real things or someone's curation of what real things are, right? That's what we love. Like when you watch Milk Call's animation of Shere Khan and Jungle Book at like just literally a hand-drawn before it's been inked and colored level, you have a visceral just like affinity for that. You're like, I've seen a tiger move 1,000 times, but when I've seen him parse and simplify and then build with his, like that stuff is magnetic. And the more that stuff is not that, when you actually present your curated view on something, your take on something, it's going to stand out. Because if 50 billboards are AI slop and there's 2 that aren't, those are the 2 you won't be able to explain why, but people will stay like, why is that so different? Like attention favors the new and the different. Industry is scared of it because they can't put data to prove why it's safe. But attention, human attention, always goes to new and different. We always want the next or the new interpretation of the old. So I think I think it's a hard thing to prove. I can't prove to you that AI is going to like not take over the world, but I do think people will ask for something that's not that, right? I just feel like that's my hope. I still have hope in humanity. Maybe I'm crazy or dumb for that, but I still feel like I have hope in people.
Yeah, that's excellently put, Ryan. Thank you very much. Francis, I think you can come forward. I think you've been holding your hands up for a while now.
Hey, sorry. Yeah, hi, Ryan. Thanks for your insights so far. Loving it. So my question is, and sorry for taking this back to LinkedIn. Like once you've managed to get noticed by someone that you really want to work with, like through comments or engagement, at what point do you decide to like DM them? Or if you end up DMing them, what do you think would help to make that first impression count? And like from a perspective of a motion designer, what are some of the qualities that you as a creative director would look for in that first initial conversation to sort of get that good first impression here?
I think the answer to both of those is curiosity. I always try to express curiosity to any client. Like if I see something that they've done, I want to know more. Like a great example is I mentioned this gentleman named Leon who I stumbled into on LinkedIn. He's a VP of design for North America for all beverages. And I didn't know anything about him. My initial thing I saw was that he was at a conference where he was speaking, and he ran into his peer or competitor at Coca-Cola, and they decided to pull up 2 chairs in between talks and just talk to each other in front of whoever walked by. Like they literally just put 2 chairs together for the half an hour between, like the unconference, like between moments, and a bunch of people just kind of stood around them. And I was like, man, I would pay good money if somebody would have filmed your conversation between the 2 of you, because I'm so interested that A, you would do it, but B, you would tell people that it's like Luke Skywalker and Darth Vader just getting coffee together. Like I want to be there for that conversation. And I was just genuinely curious. And that was the first thing that I asked him when he actually connected to me on LinkedIn. It was just like, as a human, how did you do that? What were you nervous about? Like, did you have a question you wanted to, like, what came out of it? And that just created a conversation. It had nothing to do with what I can do. It had nothing. And I wouldn't even have asked him, hey, and by the way, would you look at my demo reel? But I think it's just like demonstrating your curiosity, I think is a bridge to showing how you would be of service to someone, right? Because the other way, we all get, like creative directors, anybody at a studio, we get so many requests to look at a demo reel. I do my open office hours. And so much of what everybody focuses on is like, should I show this shot first or show this first? Or should I, like, what do I call myself? Everybody, I'll tell you right now, demo reels, 2 tips. Never put demo reel on your titles for demo reel. You wasted a huge opportunity to tell people about yourself. Never put the year. Always put something that describes like what you can do, but also, if you can, something about who you are as a person, right? That 95% of every demo reel's opening titles are the worst bit of design, but it's the first thing I see. And it never has an indication of learning something about you. Do you love Star Wars? Do you love to garden? Are you a foodie? Make that part of like your title card. Make that part of your positioning. Make that part of like the first thing you say to someone. Because the biggest trick right now is like, and I'm doing a bad job of it now, is how brief can you be? How specific can you be? And how memorable can you be? And that doesn't mean you learned how to do Houdini Sims 3 months ago. It's you learn how to do Houdini Sims because when you stare at the rain, you love seeing how water like spins around into like a faucet or something. Like there's something that about you that made you want to do that isn't just like I got to make more money, so I learned a tool. And I guess all that talk just comes down to like demonstrate your curiosity. I want to know that, right? Like if I'm going to work with you, I want to know about you as much as I want to know like what you can do, because we're in it together, right? Like we're in a job might go sideways and we're working 80 hours. We got to be able to laugh with each other, right? And I need to know like what makes you laugh. What are you interested in? You need to know that about me. So I hope that answers it. And it's not an easy thing because it's kind of one of those gray area things, but curiosity, I feel like really always works.
Curiosity, got it.
I think it circles back to what you mentioned earlier. It's we have to make we have to be make friends in the industry, because whenever new freelancers or my students, they're actually here in this chat as well. So what I usually would like to tell them is that when we're in a group project in class, we like to be grouped with our friends to do the project. And I feel like in freelancing and in the industry, in motion design, creative field itself, that is the same case, where people would love to work with their friends rather than strangers. And I guess it just circles back that way.
I think so. I mean, my business coach I always talk to, and our studio business coach, is like, people hire people. They don't hire companies, right? They don't hire reels, they hire people. And at the end of the day, it's much easier for someone to know they can hire you if they already know who you are as a person.
Awesome. Manvesh has been, had his hand up for some time, so I don't want to keep you there. Manvesh, please come forward.
Oh, hello, Ryan. Can you hear me?
Hello. Yeah, you sound great.
Okay. Thank you for being here. So I just had a question that as a student, I'm currently in my last year of being graduated. So there is always a thing where you want to do all of it. Hello. Yeah. Okay. You were saying anything, Vishal?
No, I think, were you cut off occasionally? Were you clear to everybody else, or is it just on my end? Okay, sorry about that. Please.
I have a feeling I know where this question is going, even if you go. So you're a student right now,
yes.
Right? And I would imagine you're like, what do I study? What do I learn? What do I focus on?
Yeah, exactly. Because as a student, I'm just constantly like, I like to be a generalist. I want to know everything. I want to do each and everything. So is there anything in the industry like that there is a need of person who knows everything, or there is a specific need for a person only?
Absolutely. You may have heard me say this before, but I believe being a generalist is actually a specialty. I think a lot of people actually mislabel themselves as a junior artist and just call themselves a generalist. But I think what you're saying is you are very interested in the totality of how something gets made, like the pipeline, the workflow, like how does a design get made, but then broken apart so a rigger can rig it, and then an animator can take it and then get it finished, and it goes off to an editor. If that's what you are, then you are definitely a generalist. And that is maybe the rarest of all unicorns in motion design. if you truly believe that. And I think it's very hard. The hardest thing coming out of school is being someone who's a true generalist, because you don't have enough experience yet to say you know all those things. I think the best trick for that is figuring out the one thing that you're the most excited about or curious right now, and know the step before it really well, and know the step after it really well, right? So if you are an animator, knowing how to rig something is really important, right? Even if you don't do a lot of rigging, knowing how it's supposed to be rigged, and maybe like not a designer, but you know how to set something up for rigging, right? If you can be within 2 touch points of the thing you like to do, I think that's an acceptable way to say you're a junior generalist. And then as you do more work, you'll get experience, because your animation will go off to a compositor. You'll see the stuff from composite go off to an editor, and you'll be able to have those touch points with those people. Like, well, why did you do that? I didn't expect you to do that when I made that animation. You know, like maybe they did a camera move, or maybe they actually hooked it up with another person's animation to make a seamless cut. So it's all in one, and you wouldn't have expected that. But I think your ambition level is high. I think the way you're thinking about the title and the role generalist is correct. Just don't stress yourself out too much from trying to spread yourself too thin at this stage. Because, you know, again, like in that idea of like a demo reel, like you need to be able to explain who you are by being brief, specific, and memorable. I think if you can say I'm a junior generalist who loves animation, and to show how great of an animator I'd be, I know how to take designs and rig them, right? That, and your demo reel shows that, right? And you're like, a lot of people want to put behind the scenes stuff, but like I think in most of the time it's a waste on your demo reel. But if you're an animator, you show 3 great animations at the beginning, and then you pause and you know, like you do a breakdown where you show like the After Effects scene file, and you show yourself like almost rewinding and taking like parts and rigging them together, and then playing that animation again. And then you say like, I love rigging, I love design, or you know, prepping designs, rigging, and animating. And then you say you're an junior animation generalist. I think you've done a great job of being brief, specific, and memorable, because no one does that. But what I get with generalist reels is basically like 12 School of Motion tutorials. And I'm like, I don't know where I'd hire you. I don't know what I'd use you for. I just know you took some classes. I don't know what you like. I don't know what you're excited about. I don't know what your experience is. But I love that. And I think as you go through your career, if you truly go after that, it's one of the most valuable roles you can possibly have.
That's great of an insight. And just one more thing, like as a student, what are the things, and like you are currently a professional, so what are the things we are being expected to come or have to being faced in the future that you would like to know us?
I will say one thing I'm wildly excited by, and I think I get asked all the time if I know anybody. I'm very excited about Rive in terms of being able to take animation and make it interactive. You know, I talked earlier about how there's so many what I call canvases kind of just coming out of thin air. Nothing's new, right? This is all old. This is all stuff people did with Macromedia Director and Flash I'm dating myself on CD-ROMs and like interactive like station installations at like museums. But it's coming back at light speed because Rive is so performant. It's supported by so many platforms. You can use it with real-time games. You can make standalone apps. It can be built into a website. You can make an animated short with it. I push a lot of people that are interested in like animation design, particularly if they're used to After Effects, in the general direction of Rive, because I think that there's going to be an explosion of need. We're already seeing it. I think there's a lot of clients that don't know what it is, but the ones that do can't find enough people with experience, especially if you have a generalist mentality where you're like, oh, I don't mind taking designs and rigging them. And I actually kind of love the idea that if I did a mouse click, I could trigger different state machines that do different things with it. I think particularly for what I don't know you well, but what you've just described, Rive is something that's definitely worth just like learning what it's capable of. And, you know, it's growing right now too, right? It's only been around for 2 or 3 years for the most part where people are using it. The capabilities changed again, like weekly. Like they just added like data binding layouts, and it's like, oh, now I can use it for these 5 new things. I think you'd be rewarded for curiosity towards Rive right now if you already are an animator or somebody's using After Effects.
Mm-hmm. I think this reminds me of your post a few weeks back about talking to students, and you know, I actually wanted to ask you the same exact question.
Yeah.
I think we have time for a few more questions before, because I don't want to take much of your time, and you know,
I can stick around for a little while. I got another 15 minutes if there's questions.
Yeah, awesome. Thank you so much.
No
so Pratik, you can come forward. I know you've been waiting.
Yep. Hi, Ryan.
Howdy.
Thank you for your amazing insights. So I have a quick question. I run a design studio here in India, and most of my clients are from US and Southeast Asia. So is it better to get a business development guy from that part of the world, or like this can be done virtually?
I mean, I think more and more places, I mean, even before COVID, I think people were starting to get more interested in it for a lot of different reasons. I think obviously there's like the cost benefit to some places, but I think also the idea of being in multiple time zones is very interesting to people. I think the other thing that's becoming increasingly more important is there's a lot of companies that don't have cultural insight into markets that they would love to. And I think we're finally crossing that threshold of like, oh, I'll get a student in India because they're cheaper, or I can have them working when I'm sleeping. We're finally crossing a threshold where there are brands that are like, actually, you know what? The animation I'm making in the United States will not play the same way as it would play for a different market. I would like to actually get people that understand the culture, right? Like that there has been a tidal shift, I think, in both like some European countries and definitely in the States, in terms of like, if I've got a product that's doing well here and I tried to get into another market and it's not doing well, I'm not the expert there. And I think that there's room now for people who, again, like artists with demo reels, studios with positioning, to position themselves as like, hey, I'm the design and an animation studio that can help you translate what you think your offering is to an audience that may not understand that or react that well to it. And I can tell you this only because all that outreach I did, you know, those nuke scripts that I was showing, I was outreaching to people at Kellogg's. And I met a gentleman who works with a food scientist, who is another person I somehow randomly met on LinkedIn. And they were both telling me that they were trying to break into the Brazilian market for snack foods, right? Like chips, like Pringles chips is the example. And they were sending all of the flavors they're using in the United States. And none of the agencies could, like, they worked with the best agencies, small agencies, none of them could market it or do an animation or do a campaign that would have it break. For whatever reason they couldn't, and they went back and they actually started working with their food scientists, and they worked with an agency in Brazil to create 3 flavors that were representative of flavors that people liked in Brazil that they would never have ever guessed. And it was this tiny little effort, like this almost like rogue unit, this little group, and they created 3 new flavors, and they did a trial campaign, and it exploded, and like Pringles sales like 10x'd. That would have only happened if they actually engaged with a design, I don't know if it was a marketing or a design agency in that area. I don't know if this answers your question, but I just love the idea of like not relying on we're the faster or always available or the cheaper solution. There is time now for being like, and also we know the people you're trying to market to. If that's, you know, if those are the conversations you're having. Separate from that, I think everybody is looking for virtual partners everywhere, right? Like I think everybody is definitely looking for. They have limited budget. They don't have as many in-house people, so they're looking for partners they can trust. I would even tell you that I think there is room or a play for studios that are smaller in other countries to reach out to mid-sized motion design studios and be like, we would love to white label for you. You don't have to put our name on it. You don't have to give us credits. We just want to get paid and get the experience of working with you. We are not going to put the work on our demo reels. We're not going to take credit for it. And I would keep a time limit to that, right? I wouldn't make that my 5-year engagement with a studio, but like there are a lot of, I will tell you this, when I was working at Digital Kitchen, to even get a project done, I was hiring people everywhere on the world to work on a 3-year project because I wanted specific styles. And I had people in India, I had people in Japan, people in Australia, not because they're cheaper, literally because I'm like, you were the best person to work on this Teen Titans Go thing. That's part of a bigger thing. What ended up happening was I basically just ended up being like a every hour I was basically like waking up to a new time zone every day. It would be 10 hours and I'd be like, time zone. I think there are more studios that are like, I would love to work with different people with different expertise. And they are totally like, I'll win the job. I'll bring it in. I might have an in-house CD that helps with the client. And then they go out to a studio and tap them on the shoulder. I have 2 studios that I work with in South America. And I have a studio that I work with in Europe based on what the jobs are. Just an amazing 2D animation studio that I just vibe with. When I speak animation language, they know what I'm saying. And they're better than anybody else I could find in the United States for what I do and the way I like to work, right? That was very long-winded to say yes, basically. Yes. Yeah. Like I think virtual is 1,000 ways. I don't think you're hurting at all by being it. I think you have to be way better on communication. I think you have to probably lead the conversation on organization and timing. You can't let the studios who may be trying it for the first or second time lead or drive that conversation. You have to be like, cool, at 9 a.m. your time, It'll be 4 p.m. our time. We would like to have a daily check-in because that's the way we work best, so that we can, you might have to take control of that and it might feel weird because they're the people hiring you. But if you can be that way, if you can be over communicative, be very on top of your timings, because that's really like the big hurdle. Even when I work with freelancers, the freelancers that I love that are in like Southeast Asia or Australia, they're the ones who are like, would you like a check-in? They will reach out to me. I have something ready and I know it's 9 o'clock your time. I'd love to share this with you. Are you ready? Versus me always being the person driving it. And it's such a relief where I'm like, oh my gosh, you're making it so easy for me.
Yeah.
And then I know I'm not hitting them up at what might be 2 a.m. Their time. So that might be a little bit of the burden you'd have to carry, at least at the beginning, but I definitely think there's opportunity.
All right. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Yep.
Awesome. Thank you very much, Prateek, for those question. I wanted to ask one thing that popped in my head suddenly. Do you still do reel reviews?
All the time. I probably do between 2 and 4 a day, Tuesday, Wednesdays, Thursdays. So anybody here, I'll drop it. I'll drop my link in here. So some weeks I have to like limit the time just because, like I might have a crazy job or it's, been a weird client. But yeah, if you go to the Calendly link that I dropped into the chat, I do 15-minute increments, and like I will apologize in advance. Sometimes like if you're the last person in that session, a lot of times if you can't tell I'm long-winded, the 15-minute session will turn to 20 or 25 minutes. So I may have to reschedule, if you happen to be the 4th person in on that day, but I try to make 3 days a week open for anybody.
For everyone who doesn't know, Ryan has been doing reel reviews for freelancers and artists all over the world since 2016 or 14. I lose, I forgot which year he started.
It was, I didn't remember. I didn't even know it was 2000. I knew it's been a long time. I think I'm at, the last time I checked, I keep track of it all in a spreadsheet. I think I'm at like 1,200 reel reviews. I think it's something like that from open office hours. It's been great.
And he also teaches at Demo Reel Dash in School of Motion. So I had my last reel reviewed by you, I think 2020 or something.
I think so. That might have been when we met. Was that the first time we talked?
Yeah. That was actually the first time we got on a conversation, and you actually gave a lot of insights regarding dating and everything. Adding the date to the reel.
Yeah, it might be my pet peeve, but I feel like there's nothing worse than spending 6 months on a reel and then you put it out in December, and then 3 months later when you need to find a job, you're like, oh, I got to go change that. It says 2025 and it's 2026. Yeah.
And I feel right now reels are booming, especially because of the demo dual Dash came up with.
I'm super excited about that.
Yeah, I was on a race to get it done, but my reel, I wasn't able to finish it off. So I'm sort of okay. Next year then.
Yeah, definitely.
So I think we are well beyond the hour mark, and I don't want to take much of your time, but if anybody has any last question, please come forward. Otherwise, we can wrap it up, and if that is our, I just want to put some quick notes here and there. So we have the whole session recorded and we'll be uploading it on YouTube. If you have anything that you would like to remove, like any section that is under NDA or anything, just drop us a DM. We'll get it done. Not a problem. So just a quick shout out. Jen and Kendall from Monday Meetings are also here. They are the current admins and hosts at Monday Meetings. Monday Meetings has been the inspiration behind Toggle. It was the very reason why we decided, okay, we need something like that here as well. We need a conversation happening because India is such a huge country. If you have a meetup in one corner, the rest of the country is isolated. There is no way for everybody to come forward, and so that is how Toggle came to be. And so I want to thank you, Ryan, for coming forward for this. It was long overdue because we had this conversation. We had a conversation after Kyle's meetup, and I don't know what happened. My brain just blanked because after we had that conversation, next day I thought, okay, I should have invited you for it.
Oh, that's fine.
It just blanked out over there. And then recently I thought, okay, now is a good time, and I was just took a shot, I guess.
No, I mean, thank you. I love these conversations. I mean, I don't know how everybody else feels, but I'm in this office like 10 hours a day. This is not what I expected getting in the motion design industry, like just life day to day was going to be like. I love the interactions with people, like the day, like getting to know people. So like these kinds of things like feed me so much. So, I mean, if you guys got anything, great. But for me, selfishly, this is awesome. I just feel more connected to the industry. And I don't say this, don't think I'm saying this because I say this to everybody. I do a lot of these. This was the best set of an hour-long conversation, like questions, like real questions with specific like needs and great follow-ups. Like, thank you so much for the great questions, because I think a lot of times people just ask the same normal things, like, how do I get a job? How to make a better demo reel? How do I like you all came with like really specific questions, which I think it benefits everybody. It challenges me. So thank you very much. And yeah, anytime anybody needs like advice on anything, you know where my Calendly's at. I never plug anything, but I finally have my own website for my email newsletter. So if you want inspiration once a week, I try to once a week send out. It's at keysandcurves.com, but it's all animation and motion design stuff. It's realistic. I just did a poll. I'm like, do you guys want me to just post happy stuff, or do you want me to post like realistic stuff and sometimes like somewhat scary? And to a person, like I think like 20 people are like, just tell us how like it is. So that's a good place if you just if you want some cool animation and know what's going on. I like to share a lot of stuff. But thank you. I really appreciate it. This is awesome.
Thank you very much, Ryan. And thank you everyone for coming forward and making this a huge success. Shout out to Monday Meetings, folks at Monday Meetings. And I think Kyle is also here.
Yeah. I saw him in there somewhere. I saw him. I saw him pop on.
I saw his chat. It's always a pleasure having him on Toggle as well. And thank you very much, everyone, for joining us. Yeah, he just dropped a message. Kyle just dropped a message. Just lurking today.
Awesome.
Thank you very much for joining us, and we'll do something next month as well. We're going to hopefully give a lot more value to these meetings, because it's like I said, things are shifting a lot in the motion design field, and I think since we are right now in the internet age, so I don't think the whole country divides really matter, because we are all very interconnected in a lot of ways. So it's always good to keep working together. That's to keep the industry or the motion design field moving forward. So thank you very much, everyone, and have a great night, and have a great day to everybody in the best. And take care. Bye.
Take care. Real.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ryan.
Thank you. Bye bye.